Hello, it's Easter Saturday morning and I'm out on my bike again doing a 100-kilometre bike ride. That's about 62 miles in old money. I'm heading up into Gloucestershire and I'm going to be visiting 5 churches of interest. Well, to be more precise, 4 churches and a tabernacle. I'll explain what that is later on in the video. But at the 5th of the 5 churches, there's a story from Anglo-Saxon times of a beheading, and I'll share that with you as well. Oh, and if it's still there, we're going to have a look at a pristine World War II Sherman tank in rural Gloucestershire. It's coming up. Briefly, the route is another one of what I call my balloon on a string. So I'm heading up from Bath to join this circuit. It'll be an anti-clockwise circuit. It's a bit more inflated than the last one, if you saw that video. And all 5 churches are on that. After the final church, I'm also going to use modern technology to try and find an old ancient well, which reputedly has healing powers and turns blood red on one day of the year. More about that later. I'm going to leave this lovely quiet lane shortly, join a really fast B road, shoot up to our first point of interest, Cromhall. See you there. We are now in the very small village of Cromhall, our first destination. And there's like a mini crossroads here. We're going to continue going that way before we climb up onto that hill there. But before that, we're going to go down the appropriately named church lane, leading to Rectory Lane. And the first of our 5 churches, St. Andrew's, Cromhall. And so often the case, a diagram or a map explains it so much better. So I'm on this road here. We're going to go down here, overshoot that junction slightly. That's where St. Andrew's Church is. When we come back, zoom up there and rejoin this road up there. I know this road very well. I've ridden it many times. And as usual, I can't quite picture the church. I've just zoomed by it so many times. I mentioned recently I rode the Jack and Grace 100-kilometre Audax a couple of months back. That went round there. And here we are, St. Andrew's Church. Here we are, St. Andrew's Church, Cromhall. Sunday service, 9:30 AM. Wow, this looks nice, doesn't it? Little sundial above the porch. You can hear the roar of the M5 in the distance. I'll tell you more about the route when we leave here. But as usual, I'll put a link to all the churches' pages in the description below. But today's one of those days I feel like exploring. I just want to go in and show you what it looks like without too much detail. We'll see if we spot anything. If you want the details, as I said, it'll be in the description below. Something's cancelled. Oh, a free Easter themed family fun afternoon cancelled. Apologies. Gosh, lovely old heavy wooden door. Is it open? Yes. Sanctuary ring there. Oh, this feels nice. Slightly musty smell when you come in. Gosh, there's another one of those font covers, this time suspended over it. Looks like it's on a pulley chain like that last one. I said last week, you know, I've never seen one like that before. I probably have, I've just never noticed them. Come in through the south porch, organ there. Oh, I'll leave a donation before I go. Wow, look at that old bell. The font at the back. The clock in the tower was given by William John King. Nice. Oh, toilets in there now. Oh gosh, look, dates carved in 1853. Oh, isn't that nice? Gosh, that's really nice. Quite a raised stone pulpit. That's quite a high one, isn't it? Oh, the entrance steps would be through there in the chancel. Gosh, that's a very grand pulpit. Lectern. And as usual, up a step into the chancel. Oh, and just the minute you come in, the ceiling and the stained glass window, it's almost like you walk through a door into another building. It's really got that emotional feel, really, really has. Especially on a lovely spring morning like this. Those colours are just so bright this time of the morning. So bright, they're reflecting onto the wall. I've said it before, I really love that. I've always loved looking around old churches, not for worship, just because I love the architecture, I love the sense of peace inside them and calm, and often their locations. It's a combination of things. But what I've started realising recently is there's a term for us, people who love coming to churches, not for worship, but for other reasons, multitude of reasons. So it's almost like there's this fraternal handshake. And once you know about it, you start, especially with the benefit of the internet, you start coming across sources. So I'll maybe try and share at least a couple of those today during this video. Chandelier there, look. What that tennis ball's all about. Oh, that's probably to stop anybody banging their head on that. Yeah. Okay, I've signed the visitor's book. I'm just going to pop out, get some money, pop back in, leave a donation, and then we'll go back outside and look around the churchyard. That wonderful solid door and the emblem and motto above it. So as we head from the south porch up to the east chancel, this would be looking back at that stained glass window. See if there's protective perspex on the outside. Look at that wonderful yew tree there. Let's go and have a look at that with that seat underneath it. Earlier on, when we leave here, we're going to do what I described earlier on, the three sides of the square to rejoin that road, and then very shortly it forks off to the left, starts climbing up onto the very outskirts, the edges of the Cotswold Escarpment, and then you drop down over the M5. Shortly after crossing the M5, you join the A38, which is the earlier version of it. It's the trunk road leading from the southwest up to the Midlands and beyond. We join that left and almost immediately right at Falfield, and that's where our second church is going to be. We're now plunging fast off this escarpment edge. This is not a hill I would choose to ride up because a lot of motorway traffic uses it, but it's quite a blast coming down it, and we're not on it very long. You can see we're just about to pass over the M5. This is junction 14 of the M5, and in about 100 yards we're going to turn left briefly onto the A38. This is a short section of the A38, and that silver spire over there is the second church we're going to visit, and it's right on the junction where we leave this road. We're going to turn right here, what looks like a pub car park. We're turning into Sundays Hill Lane. I'm just going to pop in here, have a look at this church. I've never been in here before, the same as the last one. Ring. Right, what's it going to be like inside? Remarkably peaceful. Just about hear the noise of the road traffic going by. Quite dark inside, subtle lighting. Don't think I'm going to find the light switch actually, because it's just got that atmosphere to it. There's a font at the back. Imagine that would be the west door. Central area. Oh, look, there's a rood screen just into the chancel. fairly basic pews with Roman numeral lettering. Yeah, 22, 23, 24. There's a fairly basic carpet stepped wooden pulpit. You can see the exposed roof beams, bit of peeling of what looks like paint. There's this wonderful rood screen look as we go up the step into the chancel. And there's a crucifixion glass with saints either side. And this is looking back from the other side of the rood screen into the nave. That lovely woodwork. Go down and have a look at the font. There's some carving into the stone. It says this font was presented to St. George Church at Falfield. And then there's a date, July the 31st, 1860. Wooden covered stone font. Anyway, out through that wooden door, get some money again, leave a donation, and then we'll head up. Hopefully going to pass a Sherman tank. The moment you come out, you just get hit with the noise. I love that. We will very quickly lose that noise. We're going to be heading up this way. We're heading from the A38, which was basically going south to north and vice versa. We're heading westwards towards the Severn estuary. And within about a minute, the sound of the motorway and the main road back there is just fading very, very rapidly. We're on some nice quiet roads, heading into the Vale of Berkeley. Sun's behind me, as you can see. It's very warm on my back. Just crossing over this rise, little fold in the land. And hopefully very soon, we're going to come to a farm which has got a Sherman tank in its yard. We're just dropping off this little rise down into the village of Rockhampton. Here we are approaching the farm. Will it be? Won't it be? Just pop in there. It's called The Elms. Nicknamed Lily Marlene. You can see it's been lovingly restored, kept in good condition. The business end of it. There's other military vehicles in the yard there. So whether it's part of a reenactment group, or they possibly just use it as storage, you know, like some farms store caravans, don't they, over the winter, whether it's for other groups, or whether it actually belongs to people. Oh look, Red Bull Restorations Unit 2, Allied Forces Unit, so it's a business, isn't it? Right by this duck pond. In 1984, to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the D-Day landings, I was in Portsmouth and there was a Sherman tank there, and although it had been lovingly restored, there was a massive hole on the side of it where clearly something had penetrated the armour and gone inside. That was quite scary seeing that. Okay, I'm just going to retrace back up to that road, the other side of this duck pond, and we're going to go and find our third church of today. I'm not sure if this one is open daily. I tried several sources, but I just couldn't find out whether it's left open daily or not. But when we get there, I'll share another source with you that really, really helpful for exploring churches. And I'll just show you how I use that. So we're coming up to our road. You may have seen the cyclist just pass. This is a south to north minor road. And we're going to go south from here, but before we leave the village, I'm going to go and try and find this church. And looking down at my GPS, we're coming up to a T-junction, and we will continue round to the right, but before that we turn left, and that'll take us down to the church. Oh yeah, going to go down to Rockhampton Church, Village Hall. It's even signposted, no through road. Just as we come up this little green with the Ukrainian flag on it, my GPS is sending me round to the left. Ah, there it is. Well, it's quite a grand tower, isn't it? Rockhampton Village Hall. Wind turbine behind it, up in the field. Okay. Even if we can't get inside, it's a lovely location. Somebody's mowing the lawn by the sound of it. St. Oswald's Church, Rockhampton. Lovely sleepy little corner of Gloucestershire. It's sleepy, it's awakened by the sound of a lawnmower. Wow, that wonderful bell tower. As always, taking my hat and glasses off to go in the church. Let's go and see if we can get access. That doesn't look promising when you see a key code. Oh yes, we can. Right, shut the outer gate. Oh, it's like that last one. It's dark inside. It's got a nice subtle glow in the chancel, so I'm not even going to try and put the lights on, even though there are electric lights here. The font, as soon as you come in, there's the font there, with a pitched wooden cover to it. As we walk down the nave, oh, look at that wonderful ceiling. Rockhampton MU, St. Oswald. Lectern. Oh gosh, knitted poppies, just like my wife has knitted me. It's a great roll of honour. Just under 2.5 months' time, I'm going to be going up to northern England to continue my cycling pilgrimage, visiting all the thankful villages in England and Wales. Sadly, Scotland and Ireland don't have any. They're the villages where every single person, man and woman, who went off to serve in World War I returned safely alive. And I leave a knitted poppy at each one. So that's coming up middle of July. Open wooden pulpit there. Some stone steps to a carpeted chancel, and immediately the design of the lights just gives it that different feel, yet a more spiritual, ethereal feel, combined with the ceiling as well. Up to the altar. Seats carved in the walls again in stone. Wonderful stained glass. I said I'd share a resource I use for exploring parish and country churches, and this is one of them. It's called the Key Holder app. It's downloadable from the Google Play Store. I'm pretty sure there'll be a version for iPhone, so just open it up. You can buy a subscription, which I haven't. This is just a free version, and I'll just show you a little bit how I use it. So that end icon there will take you to a map of the UK, and you can see you've got the major trunk roads, the major cities. Recently, this was updated. It had a software update, and it went from a blue background to this sort of maroony, and something a bit weird's happened since that. Can you see what happens? It goes a little bit mental there with these boxes. You have to scroll through that, and then it suddenly looks like That's all the churches there. That looks like a Russian hostage mission, doesn't it? Get as much lead airborne as possible. And each one of these will be a church as you zoom in, so you can see how inspiring it is. Just if I say tap that one there, what's that? And it'll tell you St Mary's, Westwell, Oxfordshire, Oxford, give you a grid reference. All these icons will allow you to do more things if you buy a subscription. I may one day, I just don't know. But I certainly get a lot of information and inspiration from this. I can give you an idea of what we're doing. There's the Severn where it widens, becomes a Severn estuary. Round about there, it becomes a Bristol Channel. You get the idea. So we're in this area here, the eastern bank of the Severn estuary. There's Berkeley. There's Hill, where I went recently. And there's Rockhampton. So I tell you, look, St Oswald's at Rockhampton. Give you the ST grid reference number. Now, if I had a paid membership, it would tell me whether it is open or not. You can see the inspiration I get. That will be our final church, but there's one in between then and now. And it's not actually a church. It's a tin tabernacle. There it is, right on the banks of the River Severn. If you noodle around on the website, you'll come across a pie chart. I love charts. I'm a very visual sort of person. Lists and that just overwhelm me with facts and figures. I need charts to understand things. And there's a pie chart. I'll put it on the screen now, but you'll see it will list all the different categories of churches, whether they're open, closed, or whether there's key access. You get the idea. So, you know, just a quick mental bit of calculation. You'll see almost 66% are accessible. They're either left open or there's key holder access. So, you know, 2/3 of churches are accessible and it is kept up to date. Anyway, well recommend the key holder app. I use it all the time in conjunction with other things like mapping software and just basic internet research. St Oswald's, Rockhampton. Lovely. I can just hear birdsong through the windows. Now the lawnmower's stopped. I bought some money in this time, so I'll go and make my donation. I'm just going to wander around the churchyard, give you an idea of its setting. I'm drawn to that style there. Just hear birds, the wind in the trees, farm noises like that lawnmower. There's some agricultural noise over there. Just looking back at the church. Gosh, look at the size of that water butt there. Go and have a look at that shortly. There's the stile across the fields. Our next location, I'm not sure if you actually call it a church. It's a tin tabernacle. So what is that if you don't know? It's a wrought iron, cheap way of building a place of worship. As I understood it, they always used to be places where worship was required and they built somewhere to accommodate it with the idea of it being more permanent in later years. And some of them just never did get replaced and they've just survived to this day. But I've also read that they were places that were required quickly as people moved from the countryside, the agricultural transformation into the cities, you know, the industrial revolution. And by the late 1800s, early 1900s, places of worship were needed. So they were cheap and quick ways of, you know, knocking up a church. And by complete coincidence, where I live, there were two tin tabernacles, literally within walking distance of my house, almost throwing distance. One of them was demolished in the 1990s to make way for some flat accommodations, and another one sadly suffered a direct hit when Bath was bombed in April 1942 and it destroyed it, and there's now there a memorial garden that's opposite my local co-op. And my local area, I'll maybe do a film about it one day, but basically the housing where I live was built in the late Victorian, early Edwardian era. It was accommodation that was needed for the influx of workers coming into Bath, primarily workers for the post office and the railways. And bearing in mind, I spent a lot of my life being a postman, it seems appropriate somehow, doesn't it? gosh, I've never seen a water that big before. That's massive. That's taller than a person. I'd say that's well over 6 feet tall, 7 feet maybe. Really nice to see somebody mowing the lawn on a bank holiday Saturday. Just gives the impression that the church is lovingly cared for, and it is, you can see. Okay, as we leave St. Oswald's, we're going to retrace the way we came in, back down to that minor road by the cricket ground, and then we're going to head northwards slightly, and then turn right into the coast, right down to Severn Estuary, and that's where the Tin Tabernacle is, St. Mary the Virgin. I've been there once before, and it was as lockdown was easing in whatever year that was, and I set out middle of the summer. I think it was at 1 o'clock in the morning. I just rode up here and got to there at dawn, not expecting to be able to get in, and I went inside round about sunrise, middle of the summer, so I'm hoping it's going to be open today. Next stop, Shepherding. Okay, do you remember me saying these roads are popular with cyclists? Well, there's a hill fun run on today, and it's cycling, walking, running. It's great to see so many families out enjoying themselves, so I've had to come down quite slowly down there. We'll be retracing back this way. So you can see here, the river's down that way. So just a few hundred yards from that T-junction, this is the end of the road. Come up on this embankment, and we're right on the banks of the River Severn. Footpath going up there, as you can see. That'll be the A48 over there, running along an old Roman road, and the hills of the Forest of Dean. This estuary looks quite tranquil at the moment, but believe me, it come all the way up here where you can see from the driftwood there, can't you, and the bogginess. And there's almost like a levee that's been built there. It's also got the second highest tidal range in the world, I believe, so sometimes that can almost be like a sandbank across there. That's looking down at 2 Severn bridges. I may have the location wrong, but as I remember it, when I first came out, or back in my 20s, so you're talking about the 1980s, I'm pretty sure there used to be a pub there, with a pub garden here. I could see why it went out of business, because it really is out in the sticks. I may have the location wrong, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that's where it used to be. Okay, change of plan. I overshot the Tin Tabernacle. The reason being is this is the road with all the fun runners, the family, children. I had to really take it steady down there as I passed them, animals as well. I overshot it. They were doing a food control there for the fun run, so I just don't think it'd be appropriate for me to go there and try and film around the church on today. So this is the road junction I've come to today. You see, I've just come down the coast. So it is only going to be 4 churches today. We'll come back to the Tin Tabernacle on another day. As I said, I just don't think it's appropriate that I go there and try and film when there's families in there trying to recuperate and have meals and food, especially as it's coming up to lunchtime. So our next church, ladies and gentlemen, then is going to be the 4th one, would have been the 5th one, and it's going to be St.Arilda's at Oldbury on Severn. There is St.Arilda Church. You may not have heard of her as a saint, because there's only 2 churches named after her in the country, and presumably the world. And I'll tell you the story about why that is. But that's set up on a hill overlooking the Severn Estuary, and you'll get some fantastic views there of the 2 Severn bridges looking downstream and across over to the Forest of Dean, South Wales. Okay, back that way. We're going to be going into the back of fun runners and walkers, so obviously I'm going to have to take lots of time, but this stage of my life, there's nowhere I want to run fast. I just want to tour and explore and savour. What's the point of having a Ferrari engine if you just want to go cycle touring? That's how I feel. Anyway, onwards. Lovely and flat and quiet down here. We're just approaching our final church village. This is Oldbury on Severn. So there's T-junction down there where the car has just gone from right to left. If I wanted the easy way back to Bath, I'd go left. What we're going to do is go to the right, climb up onto a hill with these amazing views across the Severn. That's where the final church is, and I'm going to have my lunch there, and that's where I'll tell you the story about St.Arilda as best as I understand it at this moment in time. But then eventually what we'll have to do, I don't know if you can see that big long ridge up there, that's the course of the old Roman road, the A38. Romans like building their roads up on hills, didn't they? You know, easier to defend, plus the fact the water flows off them, not onto them. So we're going to turn right here, going to go past the community shop. I quite often stop there. There's picnic tables outside. I quite often just go in to buy something, anything, you know, just to support a community shop. So I'll probably show you that. And that's right at the foot of the hill. Then we start climbing up to St.Arilda's. There you are. We're going this way. It calls it a local loop, Cow Hill. And the hill is where the church is at. Right. Can't remember what that little river is called. It's I'll put it on the screen now. A sleepy little village on the banks of the River Severn. Not far from the centre of Bristol here, you really are not. Wow, look at Dovecot, Mistletoe Cottage. Old chapel there, but look at, yeah, it's actually called the chapel. We're going to turn left here, start climbing up over Cow Hill, and there's the community shop. Lovely little wooden bus shelter. No matter what time of the year I come in here, what time of the day or night, always friendly. So from a nice friendly little community shop to an Anglo-Saxon beheading. And this is the start of the climb up the hill out of the village, and the church is at the top of the hill. Pavilion playing fields, it says down there. It's not a monster of a hill, but you certainly notice it as you come out of the Vale, and the views are well worth it. And I bought myself that can of Pepsi to help my lunch go down. As you crest the summit of the hill, there's a school there, Oldbury on Severn, Church of England, BC Primary School. And just round the corner will be St.Arilda's church. And there it is, the church on the hill. It's a real landmark round here. Right on the hill is the church, St.Arilda's Church, Oldbury on Severn. Welcome. I've been here many times. Getting the bikes through that gate is a bit of a challenge, but this is what I wanted to show you here. It's the foundation of the story. This pretty much tells the story here. I've researched a bit more detail, and there are discrepancies depending on what source you cite, so that will become obvious in the next few minutes. But it says St.Arilda the martyr, who this church is dedicated to. Arilda lived in Oldbury, the village we've just climbed out of, in the 5th or 6th century. She was killed by a man called Muncius because she refused to, inverted commas, lie with him. End of quote. This church and the church at Oldbury on the hill, about 14 miles over there, are the only churches named after her. And it's a horrible story. And I just kept thinking over the years, does that mean he raped her and then killed her? So recently I decided to see if I could answer that question, and I think I have. Next plate, a cherished church. This church, with its wonderful views, dates from the 15th century. After a disastrous fire, it was rebuilt in 1897. It is surrounded by a circular bank which may have date from the Iron Age and 2,500 years ago. So, as I understand it, when Christianity was being introduced, they would quite often put their churches on hilltops or places of burial or worship, you know, just for the continuity. And I believe that's why they also faced east as well, pre-Christian beliefs. This will become apparent later. According to legend, St.Arilda was martyred at a well near Kington, and the water still runs red with her blood. Scientists say that the stones at the wall are stained red by the delightfully named freshwater algae. Well, good luck pronouncing that. Next, every July, the Oldbury Village History Group and parishioners walk from the church to St. Arilda's well, where they sing her hymn, read a prayer and enjoy a picnic. Everyone is welcome. More about that shortly. And lastly, before we go up into the churchyard, on summer evenings the churchyard is aglow with glowworms. They aren't worms but beetles, and only the wingless females glow to attract flying males for mating. The church floodlights are turned off in July to help glowworms find each other. Starting to look wonderful, isn't it? All the spring, early summer colours starting to appear. Oh yeah. There's a cross there. I'm not sure if that's a preaching cross. Doesn't look old enough, it's wooden. But it kind of sets the scene for that story I started to tell you about. And I'll tell you what I've discovered since with a little bit of research recently. As we come up towards the porch, these amazing views, a bit closer to the Severn Bridge. You can really see the traffic going across. And you really get an idea of it perching on this hillside here. St. Arilda's Church. And the inevitable yew tree. I'm just going to read now from a pamphlet that you can download from the Church's Conservation Trust page about the other church dedicated to St. Arilda. In fact, she's called St. Arild there without the A on the end. And that's Oldbury on the hill. It's going to be a destination in upcoming videos, hopefully in the next few days. So it says, St. Arild. Very little is known about St. Arild, the patron saint of the church. She lived some time during the Saxon period, perhaps the 8th century, contradicts what it says down there, and she died at Kington. That's a suburb of nearby Thornbury. It's a very small hamlet, about 1¼ miles south of Oldbury on Severn and 1 mile from Thornbury. She was a virgin and died at the hands of one. So, in answer to that question, he didn't rape her and kill her, but he beheaded her. It goes on to say, her relics were claimed to have miraculous powers. An ordnance survey map still marks St. Arild's well at Kington. I'm going to go and try and find that later on. I went to another website called megalithic.co.uk, link in the description below. And I was able to find details there on how to locate the well, and I transposed that onto my mapping platform, as you see on the screen now. That's how I'll try to find the well later on. But there's some more details there, and it says St. Arild, sometimes St. Arilda, was a little known Saxon saint reputedly beheaded by the tyrant Muncius around 700 AD for refusing his, quote, unwelcome advances, unquote. After the dreadful deed, she was buried beside the well where in her lifetime she had resided. So straight away, by using the word reputedly, it's questioning the story. Now going back to the Church's Conservation Trust booklet that I downloaded, talking about St. Arild's well at Kington, and it says, tradition has it that the stones in her well turn blood red in colour on her feast day, 20th of July, which coincides with that walk that the local parishioners do from the church to her well. And then it goes on to say, shortly after the Norman conquest, her remains were transferred to St. Peter's Abbey, now Gloucester Cathedral, and a statue of her was placed on the reredos in the Lady Chapel. Although this was destroyed at the Reformation, mason's marks on the surviving parts of the screen show where it was actually located. but there is a statue here, right above the porch. In homage to St.Arilda, just notice she's holding a brown cross there. Going to go through the arch, into the porch, then into the church. Oh wow, look at that. Okay. There's a stained glass to St.Arilda, the Virgin, martyred at Kingston, near Thornbury, by one Muncie, a tyrant, who cut off her head because she would not consent to lie with him. So when we leave here, we'll be going down that small lane there, heading up over that hill, then part of the way up there, we'll turn off on a footpath, see if we can find St.Arilda's well. Fairly open plan pulpit. That's looking up at the chancel. Oh gosh, I hadn't spotted that before. Photograph taken from the air by Eddie Chapman and kindly donated. See if I can do that without getting the light reflection in. Church being lovingly dressed, ready for Easter tomorrow. So as we leave, that's the way we've come, where that gentleman's heading. As we drop down off this hill, you'll get some good views looking back at St.Arilda's, because this way you don't really see it until you're almost on it. So after just a few yards, you get an idea of how impressive that is up on the hill. Really is a beautiful place. Look at that lovely orangey tiled roof. About a mile after leaving the church, you drop off Cow Hill, then as the road bends round to the left that way, we're turning off right at this little triangle. You can see Cow Hill, Old Severn, that's where we've come from, and we're heading up Stock Hill, up there. And part of the way up there, there's a left-hand turning, footpath, and that'll take us down to Arild as well. Whether we can get there in shoes like this today, I don't know. I may have to come back later in the year. Let's go and have a look and find out. Okay, that hedgerow going up there, that's the road I've come from. That's the road I'll be heading back for. Had to manhandle the bike around on its back wheel around the Kissing Gate. Then that field's absolutely waterlogged with water running down it. Now I've just got through these two gates here, and to the best of my knowledge, the well will be where this footpath intersects that hedgerow called the sheep in the field. Okay, the ground is absolutely saturated here. You can see where I've left my bike, and I've walked across there, got very muddy feet, used the gate as a kind of climbing frame. You can see I'm just perched on the gate. That down there is almost like a bog. And here's the spring, ladies and gentlemen. It was just at this point that my wireless microphone ran out of charge. So if I put the diagram back up on the screen, I'll try and explain what happened. The actual line that runs from centre left to centre top, that's the minor road that I'm on. And then the track, the dead end track going off to the right with the white spot at the end. That's actually where I'm filming from. That's where I trudged across the wet fields, climbed on that gate, couldn't really get any further, but I had intersected with the stream. That's what you're looking at now. It's flowing down from St.Arilda's well. I'm going to have to come back in drier weather because it was literally like a bog there that day. I was very close to St.Arilda's well, but I didn't quite get there. I'll maybe come back in July, which would seem appropriate. I'm going to use my phone camera to try and zoom in a bit more. The wind noise will probably be bad. Okay. Can you hear that sound as it's almost dropping down into some sort of pipe or channel, hitting some rocks? It's quite a haunting sound. This is what I'm doing, trying to use the gate as a climbing frame. I'm going to get wet feet anyway, but I'd literally sink down to my ankles there, I think. Okay, for people's reference, if they do want to come and see the well, the road I came in from the St.Arilda's church would have been from the left at that junction down there. There's almost like a grass triangle. That would be Cowes Hill going up there, and the church is at the top of it. So you come down that T-junction, turn right, and literally 300-400 yards, you get to a pretty innocuous looking gate. Ladies and gentlemen, a bit of bonus material. I'm heading from right to left over there, and I've just come up this no-through road to Elberton Church. I've been here several times before, never been open. It suddenly occurred to me, it's Easter weekend, isn't it? Two of the churches have had people there today, one mowing the lawn, and the ladies prepping the church for Easter Sunday tomorrow. And look, gentleman's mowing the lawn here. I can see the porch is open. What a great hunch. Let's go and have a look. It's a lovely isolated church, and with heritage crime rampant these days, I can understand why this is kept locked. It really is in the middle of nowhere, but look at it. It's almost like three-tiered along, isn't it? I don't know anything about this. I don't know the saint. All I know is I've been here 2 or 3 times, enjoyed just sitting in the grounds, but never got in. Never thought I would actually. March and April, St. John's Church, there we are. Wow, look all the ornamental stonework around the arch. Carpeted, tiled floor. Oh, this is wonderful, box pews. I've been past here so many times. I've sat in the churchyard and it's never been open. Central aisle. Gosh, that stone pulpit. With a wooden surround. Slightly darken as you go towards the chancel. Up the step in. Tower chancel, gosh, look nice. Stained glass. The lady who just said it's okay for me to look round, and it is open occasionally. Sometimes they do tease that here at the weekends, but I've always been by in the week. Wonderful. Vestry in there, I'm guessing. I won't try to tempt that. She said the oldest box pews were over in this corner. Quite a mix, isn't it, between box pews and aisled pews. Oh, the oldest one in the corner, she said. Gosh, it's almost like triple aisled. Wonderful roof structure up there. And the stops as well, the carved stops. Just a quick footnote, I've not long passed over the M4 motorway. Near Almondsbury is where the big interchange and the RAC iconic building is. And I've just ridden through that monster flood. I tried freewheeling it to see if I'd get through. I just started losing momentum, so I had to pedal. And yeah, you guessed it, my feet were just starting to dry out. Now they're freezing cold again. I don't care, I've had a good time. I've had an excellent time. I'm quite happy with that. Right, as I cut through Frampton Cotterell, It looks fairly unremarkable, but at St Anne's Drive, just before we go underneath the Bristol to Midlands Railway, this is the end of the circuit. So the string back to Bath, as I described it, is going to go that way. When I came up this morning, I went that way because I was heading over there. I've just come in back in here from the left. So in a few miles time, I'm going to get back on the Bath to Bristol bike track, which is traffic free, and it's the bulk of what I call the string, the out and back section, and I'll wrap the video up there, give you a few final thoughts. I'm now back on the traffic-free Bath to Bristol cycle path. It runs along the old Midland Railway between Bath and Bristol. But this is Mangotsfield Junction. Once upon a time, a line from Bristol came in and went off up there all the way up to Newcastle. But I didn't realise until recently how big this station was in its heyday. A lot of other platforms, buildings, sidings. There was a massive chocolate factory behind, which has got a link to Arnold Ridley out of Dad's Army. I've told that story before. But I've screen grabbed a few of those photographs, and as long as there's not a copyright issue with it, I'm going to try and do a then and now comparison, because it really is interesting, the scale of just how big this place was in its heyday. Seems a good place to finish the video anyway. Although it's traffic free, you can just hear the roar of the ring road, which is actually built on some of this old track bed, so the cycle path has to sort of veer zigzag around it. I just wanted to make sure I've got some audio from that last church, because when I checked the footage, I think some of it was on the camera set in photos only. So just to recap, that lady let me in. I think she was a clergyman, but possibly a vicar. She was getting it ready for the Easter ceremony tomorrow. Ever so friendly, she told me all about the inside, and we had a bit of a chat. And I said to her, are there many services here? And she said, yeah, about twice a month. And when I looked at the board outside, you could see there fairly regularly. But she said, because it's a rural community, they try and put on special services to draw young people in. And there's things like Mother's Day and Harvest Festival, you get the idea. She said recently they did one, you know, for the young farmers, because it's an agricultural community and community. And she said they did one for lambing. And it's wonderful. Some of the farmers brought lambs in and all the children loved it. And I just thought, oh, I just would have loved to have seen that in a church, lambs in a church, all the children with their face painted, just wonderful. And I'm so glad I just acted on my hunch. I was coming up to it thinking, it won't be open. It never is when I try it. It's still nice to sit in the grounds, but I just thought possibly, you know, with it being Easter, because I've seen people in churches earlier on, the guy mowing the lawn, then the ladies at St.Arilda's, you know, preparing it for tomorrow. And what a hunch that was. Wonderful experience, that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed coming along. If you've got this far, thank you very much. Hopefully in the next few days, I'm going to go to the other St.Arilda church. There's only two in the UK, and the other one is Oldbury on Hill. It's near the Badminton Estate, Gapcombe Park, where Princess Anne lives. It's only about 14 miles between the two churches. Hopefully over the weekend, maybe the bank holiday weekend, which reminds me it's Easter tomorrow. So I was going to wish everybody happy Easter, but I'll do it retrospectively. I hope you had a happy Easter, because by the time I edit this film and then get it posted, you get the drift, don't you? In fact, I think I may just have explained a bit of Einstein's relativity unintentionally. Anyway, if you got this far, thank you very much for watching. As usual, look out for each other, everybody. See you soon. Bye for now.